The numbers alone are staggering. Canada is set to increase defense spending by more than $9 billion in the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year, a leap that pushes total spending to 2% of GDP and meets NATO's target years ahead of schedule. For context, that translates to roughly $40 billion each year in real capability rather than paper promises. It is a massive step for a country that for years lagged behind many of its NATO allies in military spending. And this is only the opening chapter of a $73 billion 20-year transformation plan, the largest and most comprehensive in modern Canadian history. This plan is not simply about new equipment. It is about strategy, sovereignty, and survival in a changing world. Since 2022, the global security map has been redrawn. The war in Ukraine shattered assumptions about a permanently peaceful Europe. The Pacific is warming up with naval competition. The Arctic, long frozen and often ignored, is becoming a strategic crossroads where major powers are positioning for the future. Russia has expanded Arctic bases and its icebreaker fleet. China describes itself as a near-Arctic state, a phrase that invites debate and is investing in polar research vessels that also carry obvious dual-use potential. The United States, Canada's closest ally, has urged Ottawa to take a stronger role in defending the northern approaches to the continent. For Canada, this is not optional. It is existential. If Canada does not defend its north, someone else eventually will. That is what this $40 billion is truly about, reclaiming control over Canada's future and over the future of the Arctic. Let us begin at sea, because that is where sovereignty begins and ends for most nations, especially one that is surrounded by 3 oceans. The Royal Canadian Navy is now undergoing its most ambitious modernization since the Cold War. At the heart of the plan is a new submarine fleet designed for long-range patrols beneath Arctic ice. Canada is also modernizing its surface fleet, including the Canadian Surface Combatant program, which is expected to produce up to 15 advanced warships based on the BAE Type 26 design. The maritime picture also includes seafloor sensors, new Arctic patrol vessels, and expanded cooperation with the Canadian Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is being integrated directly into the Department of National Defense. That integration is far more than administrative. It allows Coast Guard icebreakers, research vessels, and patrol craft to directly support defense operations in the Arctic. For a country with the longest coastline on Earth, that is not a minor adjustment. The Arctic is no longer a frozen, dead zone. It has become a highway. Melting ice has opened parts of the Northwest Passage, shortening routes between Europe and Asia by thousands of kilometers. With more ships come more competition, more claims, and more military interest. Canada's Navy is therefore focused on presence. In the Arctic, the nation that is physically there first often frames the conversation. The upcoming Polar-class icebreakers and the Arctic offshore patrol ships will patrol these routes throughout the year. Meanwhile, new submarines will operate under the ice to deliver stealthy surveillance and credible deterrence in a region where conventional radar provides only limited coverage. It is a message wrapped in steel and sonar. The Arctic is not empty. It is Canadian territory, and Canada is present. If the seas are Canada's frontier, the skies are its shield, and that shield is becoming sharper. The Royal Canadian Air Force is entering a new era of modernization centered on 3 main upgrades. First, the F-35 Lightning II is replacing the aging CF-18 fleet. Second, early warning and airborne command aircraft will expand radar and surveillance coverage. Third, an integrated system of missile defense and over-the-horizon radar is being developed in concert with NORAD's wider modernization. For decades, NORAD, the binational US and Canada command responsible for continental defense, relied on radar architecture designed for a different age. The most serious threats today often fly faster, lower, and with stealthier signatures. Over-the-horizon radar will give Canada the ability to detect aircraft and missiles thousands of kilometers away, even beyond the curvature of the Earth. When paired with satellite tracking and the F-35's advanced sensors, Canada's northern airspace becomes one of the most closely monitored regions in the world. The F-35 itself represents a genuine leap in capability. It can track distant targets, disrupt hostile radar, and share data across ground, naval, and allied platforms in real time. For the first time, Canada will possess air dominance that truly stretches across its entire territory, from Vancouver Island to the high Arctic. And to be candid, if there is one place you would prefer not to test an F-35, it is over a country with more open sky than any other NATO member. While naval and air programs draw headlines, the Canadian Army is quietly experiencing one of its most significant upgrades in living memory. For years, the land forces were known for discipline and professionalism, yet they often lacked cutting-edge equipment, and many units operated Cold War-era vehicles and artillery. That period is ending. The modernization plan brings in new armored vehicles such as the LAV-6 and upgraded Leopard 2 tanks. It adds long-range precision missiles capable of striking targets at considerable depth. It includes more capable utility helicopters, improved artillery, and revitalized air defense. These are not marginal improvements. They redefine how Canada fights. The doctrine now emphasizes mobility, lethality, and interoperability. Canadian forces must deploy quickly with NATO allies while retaining the ability to sustain operations without immediate outside support. A major investment in domestic ammunition and supply chains ensures Canada can maintain its own warfighting capability rather than relying on external deliveries during a crisis. In short, the Army is evolving from a supporting contributor into a force that is ready for the front line and capable in the Arctic. The world no longer waits for peacekeepers to arrive. Modern forces must be ready for peace and prepared for war. Canada's greatest surveillance challenge has always been geography. The country is simply enormous, and traditional patrolling cannot cover it all. That is now changing. Billions of dollars are flowing into long-endurance drones, high-altitude sensors, and seafloor monitoring systems across the Arctic and the North Atlantic. Together, these systems deliver real-time intelligence on ships, aircraft, and even submarines operating near or within Canadian territory. Think of it as turning the Arctic into a layered awareness zone that covers ice, ocean, and atmosphere. The drone programs are central to this approach. Canada is acquiring medium-altitude, long-endurance aircraft that can remain aloft for well over a day while relaying live imagery to ground and naval units. They will also assist with search and rescue, environmental monitoring, and disaster response. Military technology is not solely for conflict. It can be a tool for national resilience. The developing over-the-horizon radar grid will combine with satellites and drones to create an all-weather 24-hour surveillance picture. If anyone decides to take a shortcut through northern waters, Canada will likely know about it well before the first ice flow comes into view. In this century, the battlefield is physical and digital at the same time, and Canada is building defenses for both. The $40 billion plan dedicates substantial funding to cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and quantum research, positioning the country to lead within NATO's digital defenses. Cyber warfare is no longer speculative. From power grids to satellites, every major system is a potential target. Canada is investing in AI-enabled monitoring that can detect and contain cyber threats before they spread. The plan also emphasizes space-based defense. This is not about weaponizing orbit. It is about secure communications, persistent surveillance, debris tracking, and reliable detection of missile launches. Another critical effort is the Joint Counter-Drone Initiative. Canada is developing sensors, jammers, and directed energy tools designed to neutralize hostile drones. When adversaries can send swarms of affordable unmanned aircraft rather than divisions of soldiers, you need the right kind of fly swatter. It is efficient, scalable, and yes, politely futuristic. Technology does not operate itself. People do. That is why the upgrade extends beyond equipment to rebuild the human foundation of the armed forces. The government is raising military pay, improving housing and family support, and expanding healthcare with a particular focus on mental health for both serving members and veterans. Recruitment is being redesigned to attract not only more personnel, but also specialists. Cyber professionals, engineers, data analysts, and AI practitioners are being brought into uniform to modernize operations from within. Veteran care is being streamlined so that those leaving service can move their skills into civilian careers more easily. A strong defense is not only measured in tanks or jets. It is measured in people who understand the mission and believe in what they are defending. Where the money goes matters, and in this plan, much of it stays at home. The modernization effort leans on a buy Canadian approach that strengthens domestic industry and builds self-sufficiency in defense production. That means new contracts for manufacturers, deeper partnerships with universities and technology firms, and an innovation ecosystem designed around national security. The result is also a significant economic stimulus. Tens of thousands of skilled jobs in engineering, logistics, shipbuilding, and aerospace are expected to grow alongside the programs. The integration of the Canadian Coast Guard into the Department of National Defense streamlines Arctic operations and expands maritime security coverage. Northern waters become not only monitored, but actively patrolled, turning presence into policy. For much of the post-war era, Canada's military strategy could be summarized in two words: trust alliances. That approach worked for decades until the world changed. The new defense policy signals something not seen in generations, namely a renewed commitment to strategic independence within alliances. By reaching NATO's 2% goal early, Canada shows it can carry its share of the load. The intention is not to replace the United States or compete with allies. The intention is to stand tall alongside them. In global terms, this makes Canada a more serious player in Arctic and Atlantic defense, and a stabilizing force in an increasingly uncertain world. Canada remains peaceful and polite. It is also ready, and that readiness is now visible. Now consider a hypothetical moment in the early 2030s. Climate change has melted enough Arctic ice to open the Northwest Passage for regular shipping. Dozens of nations are navigating it, some with permission and others without. One day, Canadian systems detect unregistered vessels entering the passage. The crews claim research missions. Satellite data suggests something different, with equipment that appears designed for surveillance and with weapons on board. This time, Canada does more than file a protest. It acts. Within minutes, the Arctic surveillance network comes alive. Satellites track, drones classify, and radar fixes the picture. A Royal Canadian Navy submarine, one of the new under-ice models, moves silently beneath the intruders. Airborne early warning aircraft coordinate from above, and from a base in Nunavut, F-35 fighters launch to intercept. The ships are shadowed, warned, and escorted out. No shots are fired. The message is unmistakable. Canada's north is not a playground. It is protected space. That is what this $40 billion transformation buys. Credible deterrence, the kind of power that prevents conflict before it begins. This effort is not about turning Canada into a superpower. It is about ensuring the nation remains sovereign in a rapidly changing world. Peace is supported by strength. Presence is multiplied by technology. Sovereignty is secured through readiness. With submarines beneath the ice, F-35s in the sky, artificial intelligence guarding digital terrain, and soldiers who are better trained and better supported than ever, Canada is redefining what modern defense looks like. For a country that spans nearly 10 million square kilometers, this is not indulgence. It is necessity. Distance is no longer a defense. In the 21st century, sovereignty belongs to those who can uphold it. $40 billion, dozens of programs, one defining mission: to ensure that Canada remains secure, sovereign, and self-reliant in a world where the lines between peace and conflict are blurrier than ever. This isn't just a defense plan, it is a turning point. The moment Canada decided that stability cannot be borrowed and safety cannot be outsourced. The new era of the Canadian Armed Forces isn't about building a bigger military for its own sake. It's about creating a smarter, faster, and more adaptable one. A force designed not for the battles of the past, but for the unpredictable challenges that lie ahead. For too long, Canada's vast geography was its shield. Oceans, ice, and distance seemed to promise safety. But in an age of long-range missiles, cyber attacks, and satellites, distance has shrunk. The threats that once took weeks to reach its shores can now appear in minutes. This transformation acknowledges that reality and prepares for it. It's a rebirth of strategy and purpose, a promise that the Arctic will remain Canadian, that the country's digital frontiers will stay secure, and that the next generation of Canadians will inherit not just peace, but the means to protect it. Every submarine beneath the ice, every F-35 in the sky, every engineer designing the next defense system, together, they represent a statement of intent. Canada is no longer content to rely on goodwill and geography. It is building strength through readiness, resilience through innovation, and peace through credible power. This is more than military modernization. It is national renewal, an investment in confidence, in capability, and in the quiet determination that has always defined the Canadian spirit. From the Arctic tundra to the digital frontier, from the skies of NORAD to the depths of the Pacific, Canada is preparing not only to defend its borders, but to shape the balance of security in the century ahead. Because nations that endure are nations that adapt. And Canada, once again, is proving that it can.